What is going on, guys? So with Elden Ring's release, I know there's a lot of new people to the Soul series trying out PvP for the very first time. And it can be enormously frustrating. Just like with the relentless bosses in PvE, the PvP aspect is no different, and it has little room for error. If you are tired of dying in Elden Ring PvP over and over again and want to improve but don't know where to start, let me give you some key tips that will help you out. The first tip has everything to do with setting up a good build. It doesn't matter what kind of playstyle you choose, but I think this is a must-have on every build. It is so vitally important to hit the soft cap HP threshold, or at least be close to it. 50 points into Vigor is a bare minimum, I suggest, in order to have the most cushion to actually tank some hits. But 60 Vigor is highly suggested even for mages. Elden Ring has a soft cap system where certain point thresholds give you the most value for your levels allocated. After hitting that cap, every point you add into it is less valuable, meaning those points will be better off in a different stat, like endurance or mind. Since the soft cap point into Vigor is 60, there's actually more ways to get HP other than just your stats alone. There are two key talismans that I think every build should use. They are the Crimson Amber Medallion and the Erdtree Favor. These two talismans add so much health, as well as adding more equip load and stamina, allowing you to use more attacks, more dodges, but also wear heavier armor for more mitigation. With the amount of damage going around with Moonveil Katanas almost one-shotting you, Seppuku Bleed weapons, and Royal Knight's Resolve, it is almost a no-brainer to reach the soft cap HP. You wouldn't believe the amount of people I've encountered that have less than 1000 HP at the in-game dueling level that I just absolutely just one-shot. Overall, this is the first crucial mistake I see people make all the time. Having less than 1900 health at the minimum is a no-no, especially for PvP invasions. Having a good foundation to your build is, in my opinion, the key to success in Elden Ring. The next tip is crucial to your survival in PvP. Be patient and don't overextend. This is something that everybody will struggle with from time to time, but it's an important lesson to learn. Don't just run in there and expect to fight the host with their summons. Assess the situation and take notice of the builds you are fighting against. As over time, once you fight certain weapons and builds over and over again, you will understand a pattern to their moveset and tendencies that you can exploit with your build. Are they a mage? Or are they power stancing katanas with bleed? Are they a high poise build? These are all very important details, as over time you'll understand what counters each playstyle. For example, it is not suggested to run in on a high poise build with full bullgoat armor and expect to outtrade them. However, using longer weapons to outspace them or using range attacks would be your best bet. Are you fighting a mage? Well, take notice to the environment you have and use it to your advantage. Are you around buildings, trees, or rocks? Just by getting behind those structures in a stressful, hectic situation can give you time to breathe and regroup to give you enough time to pop a healing flask. Getting behind cover negates most range attacks and forces the enemy to you, and once they overextend, you can then punish them for a combo of your own. As a continuation of using the environment to your advantage, whenever you aren't doing an honorable 1v1 fight, don't be afraid to use the enemy bosses and NPCs to help you. During invasions, anything goes. This is a dirty but effective trick to help you out in a pinch, as if you're getting spammed by spells, you can kite the host and the summons and lead them into a pack of NPCs. When you are the invader, the enemy NPCs are not aggroed to you, making them an effective tool to use when needed. When they get aggroed on the summons and the host, in this chaos, this is your advantage. You have an opportunity to counterattack, and it takes some pressure off of you. For the most part, these adds won't actually deal damage to you, but larger enemies like dragons can actually deal collateral damage when they do their Dragon Breath attack or tail sweeps. Basically, if there's any wide AoE attack, you need to be careful of it and watch out for it. Another tip that is very, very important that I think a lot of people overlook is get your flask upgrades. This is a simple tip, but in invasions, you are always at a disadvantage. You have less flask than the host does, and most of the time you're in a 1v2 or even a 1v3 situation. So it's best to be prepared before doing invasions. I have a complete walkthrough guide on setting up my soul level 60 invasion build, where I get every flask and tier upgrade for my character. If you guys want to check out that video, I'll link it down in the description below. While we are talking about some consumables, don't forget about the importance of your physique flask. This is a powerful and effective tool that you can adapt for any build. One of the most important buffs for PvP is called the Crimson Bubble tier. This allows you to get a burst heal when your HP gets too low, and can save you in many outnumbered situations. There are some more honorable mentions like the Leaden Hard tier that gives you unlimited poise for 10 seconds. There is the Crimson Burst Crystal tier that gives you healing over time. There is the typical stat boost ones for strength, dex, faith, and intelligence. But in my opinion, a good starting setup for this would be your main damage stat. For example, say it is strength, and you pair that up with a Crimson Bubble tier to save you whenever you get low. But again, this is just an ideal setup for you guys that you can use right away. Another way to improve at PvP in Elden Ring is to obviously do PvP in Elden Ring. Now, invasions can be very hard to learn. This is why I recommend learning the dueling aspect of the game. This will teach you some of the core fundamentals like spacing, stamina management, and roll catching. You'll learn the moveset of all different kinds of weapons to make your life easier during those invasions. I could do an in-depth guide on all of these things like the spacing, stamina management, and roll catching if you guys are interested. But this is just a quick overview on how to actually improve. And also, I think a hidden gem about learning how to duel is you can see some very unique and different builds, and you can maybe adapt those that you see to your own playstyle and can help you and see kind of what works. This is by far one of the best ways, in my opinion, to get better, because you aren't getting clobber stomped by 2 mages and a poise Chad. You can actually focus on counterattacking in duels to make you an overall better player. And eventually, you'll have a much easier time in invasions in those high stress situations. Now, a question you guys may have is where can you find some duels? There's actually 2 key dueling spots that I use in Elden Ring. The first one is the first step right at the very beginning of the game. This is where I did a lot of my duels early into the game, but I've actually found a better spot that I see a lot of duel signs all over the place, and that is the main academy gate over at the Raya Lucaria library in the middle of the lake. This is the best spot, in my opinion, to find duels, as there's a grace location right there in the middle, so you can change your gear, reload your physique flask. There's dueling signs all over the place, and you can just get some endless fights, and you can summon people, or you can put your sign down and have other people summon you to their world. If there's any other dueling spots that you guys know of, definitely let me know down in the comment section below. And last but not least, one of the final tips in this video is I think everybody should learn at least the basics on how to parry. Now, I'm not a pro at this either, and parrying can sometimes be unreliable in laggy duels and invasions. However, I think this can ultimately take your game to the next level, and you can punish some of the strongest builds in the game. Just by having a backup parry tool with like a buckler, a parry dagger, or an outright shield can really provide that wow factor and can turn the tides of a fight with one big counterattack. The reason I think this is so vitally important is you can parry the likes of Moonveil spammers, Rivers of Blood spammers, Running Power Stance spear spammers, just to name a few. This can ultimately turn situations into your favor to help you win in those outnumbered fights. Oftentimes, I feel the parry shield is one of the most underutilized tools in the game, and I think adding this to your arsenal is a very good idea. But I think you should only really focus on this once you've mastered the basic core aspects of the game. Now, where can you practice these parries? When I want some good parry practice, one of the best bosses is the Commander Niall in the Castle Sol in the very, very far north part of the game in the snow area at that castle. This will really get you into a flow of counterattacking and parrying because you can parry the ads, you can parry the boss over and over again and really get the flow down. However, seeing as most people, especially in the early game, it'll take them quite a long time to get all the way up to the north part in the snowy area at Castle Sol. So I think a good replacement for this is go to the gate front, right? Pretty much at the very beginning of the game, and just go parry the knights out there and just parry them over and over again, and it'll get you some much needed practice. But also just lugging around a shield and just parry spamming every chance you get will get that muscle memory down as well. But one thing I do want to mention is that parrying NPCs and parrying enemy players is just a little bit different. You have to parry a little bit sooner against players, seeing as it's more of a prediction rather than an outright reaction to their attacks. So you have to kind of predict when they're going to be doing a parryable attack, and that's when you can do those counterattacks. In closing, focusing on the key aspects of Elden Ring PvP and putting some time and effort into the fundamentals will produce dividends in the long run. Just by using the flavor of them on the weapons won't teach you anything about the game, and in time, once these things get adjusted and more balanced, if you don't take my advice now, then you'll have a really awful time once your favorite setup is nerfed. It's best to have a wide variety of builds and have a wide arsenal of weaponry you can use and are comfortable with. I hope this video gave you some ideas on how you can improve in Elden Ring PvP. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. But before we go, if you guys are interested in my 2 builds I showed in this video, click one of these 2 boxes here.